attendance at the registration table, and in case of an emergency, such as the occurrence of an earthquake, please stay calm. You shall be ushered by security officers in vacating the library to the designated evacuation area. Our speaker has arrived. May we request everyone to kindly settle down and take your seats as we will begin in a short while. So looking forward to an engaging morning with you all. Thank you very much. DFA officials, members of the Diplomatic Corps, FSI colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We're very happy that you are spending your precious time this morning with us. My name is Maria Aliana Ocampo. I'm the Assistant Chief Training Officer of the Transition Program Section of FSI's 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗏𝗂𝗍 School of Diplomacy. And it is my honor and pleasure to serve as host for today's event. Today is a great day to come together and learn from each other as we welcome you to this month's Ambassadors Lecture Series. The Ambassadors Lecture Series, or ALS, is a platform for heads of diplomatic missions in Manila to share their knowledge and expertise, experiences, and advocacies. It aims to build stronger bridges of understanding that will lead us to insights, actions, and a deeper appreciation of our relations to continue achieving our shared goals of cooperation, economic development, and peace. To officially begin the program, allow me to introduce our guest lecturer for this morning. Our guest lecturer for today is the Ambassador of South Africa to the Philippines. She is a seasoned professional with a diverse background in leadership, management, and diplomacy. Married with 5 children, she has dedicated her career to advancing various sectors, particularly in community development, women and economic empowerment, and international relations. She holds an MBA from the Management Institution of Southern Africa, Mancosa, earned in 2003 to 2004, along with a postgraduate diploma and an advanced diploma from the same institution. Her expertise spans a wide array of areas, including microfinance strategies, human resources development, project management, stakeholder engagement, and strategic management. With senior management experience in both government and private sectors, she has led initiatives such as the Second Economy Government Program and played pivotal roles in community development, financial management, and SMME mentorship. Her career trajectory as a civil servant spanned over 25 years, which includes significant roles within the African National Congress, or ANC, and governmental agencies such as the National Intelligence Agency and the Energy Department, where she served as head of ministry. Beyond her professional achievements, she is recognized for her activism in human rights, workers' rights, and gender equality. A long-standing member of the ruling party in South Africa, she is esteemed as a freedom fighter and a champion for community empowerment and gender rights. To share her thoughts on her chosen topic, 30 years of South Africa's freedom and friendship with the Philippines, may I call on stage from the Embassy of South Africa in the Philippines, Her Excellency, Ambassador Bertina Nthombisodwa-Hadebe-Neshitenze. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, first, my greetings to the Assistant Secretary Francisco Fernandez III, the Foreign Services Institute, Ms. Maria Aliana B. Ocampo, Assistant Chief Training Officer, Assistant Secretary, Mr. Meliko, who is in charge of us, Africa and Middle East, to all the DFA staff and other diplomats, academic, my esteemed ambassadors who are all here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming today. It is indeed an honor for me to have been invited to share this diplomatic lecture, particularly because this month, and in particular today, we gathered to celebrate a significant milestone of 30 years of freedom for South Africa and the enduring friendship between South Africa and the Philippines. As we look back on the journey that brought us here, we are reminded of the struggles, sacrifices, and triumphs that have shaped both our nations and our relationship. South Africa's journey to freedom was a long and arduous one, marked by the relentless pursuit of justice, equality, and democracy. The courage and resilience of the South African people in the face of oppression inspired the world and laid the foundation for a new era of hope and possibility. In the Philippines, we witness a similar spirit of resilience and determination in the pursuit of freedom and democracy. The Filipino people have overcome countless challenges and obstacles to build a vibrant and inclusive society that values freedom, diversity, and unity. The struggle for freedom in South Africa is a story of courage, resilience, and unwavering determination in the face of injustice and oppression. For many years, the people of South Africa fought tirelessly against a system of institutionalized racial discrimination known as apartheid, which enforced segregation and discrimination against non-white South Africans. Colonization in South Africa started more than 300 years ago and saw power shifting from Dutch to British to Dutch again in 1948. Of significance is that there were wars waged between the two nations, and all along the indigenous people remained oppressed and their rights infringed, meaning they remained on the peripheral. Of significance to South Africa in 1948 election victory by the Dutch over the British is that because they had further the Dutch entrenched and passed many racial laws known as apartheid system against African majority basic human rights and freedoms, while subjecting many who dare to object or protest to prisons and exiles. Non-white South Africans were subjected to discriminatory laws that restricted their movement, education, employment opportunities, even their right to vote. The brutal system of apartheid not only divided communities along racial lines, but also created deep economic, social, and political inequalities that persisted today. South Africa's struggle for freedom was led by courageous individuals and movements who refused to accept the oppressive and apartheid system. Leaders like Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Ruth First, Charlotte Maxeke, and many others dedicated their lives to fighting for justice, equality, and democracy, despite their elite status within their societies. Most of them came from the royal families of the black people. The African National Congress played a pivotal role in the struggle against apartheid, leading mass protests, strikes, and acts of civil disobedience to challenge the unjust laws and policies of the apartheid regime. The international community also stood in solidarity with the people of South Africa, imposing economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure to isolate the apartheid government and support the quest for freedom. In South Africa's struggle for freedom was a complex and multifaceted journey that spanned decades and involved a wide range of individuals, organizations, and movements. South African government was the most powerful government. It was the government that had manufactured the biggest arms that we can ever see today. At its core, the struggle was a battle against the deeply entrenched system of apartheid, which sought to divide and suppress the diverse population of South Africa based on race, gender, and ethnicity. Homelands and segregations were built to entrench different ethnicity, which actually was aiming at division amongst the black ethnic groups and thereby maintaining white supremacy and dominance that we had refused. The system of apartheid with their discriminatory laws restricted the rights and opportunities of non-South Africans in most aspects of their lives. From education, to employment, to housing and healthcare, the apartheid system created a system of inequality that perpetuated oppression and subjugated most of the population. In response to this injustice, a vibrant and resilient anti-movement took shape, emerged, drawing together people from all walks of life who were united in their desire for freedom, justice, and equality. The movement encompasses a wide range of strategies and tactics, from peaceful protests and boycotts to underground resistance and armed struggle. The long and arduous struggle finally broke foot in 1994, when the first democratic elections were held in South Africa, marking the end of apartheid and the return and the release of the prisoners. I was one of those who returned from exile. As I said to you, the people of South Africa demonstrated extraordinary resilience, a determination to build a society based on principles of equality. The symbolization of of freedom saw the democratically elected Nelson Mandela as the first black president of South Africa, and that symbolizes victory, reconciliation, and unity over division and hatred. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, established to address the crimes and injustice of the past, we could not move forward without having the Truth and Reconciliation, provided a platform for healing and reconciliation, laying the groundwork for more inclusive and democratic South Africa. Indeed, those who were found not meeting the requirement were subjected to the laws of the country. Today, South Africa stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration for people around the world who are fighting for freedom, equality, and human rights. This struggle for freedom in South Africa serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring power of solidarity, courage, perseverance in the face of adversity. We so much wish that Palestinians could be enjoying that. Key figures like Nelson Mandela, Albertina Sisulu, Steve Biko, and Desmond Tutu emerged as influential leaders who inspired and mobilized millions of South Africans to join fight against apartheid. International solidarity and support also played a crucial role. Indeed, Southern Africa was our home. They housed us as our neighbors. They refused the pressure they got from apartheid. They took up serious issues. They were bombed day and night. They were told that they were housing terrorists. They refused to succumb. We had the best neighbors we had. We are grateful today we stand here for the Southern Africa in particular. We pay tribute to Tanzania, we pay tribute to Zambia, we pay tribute to Angola as we stand here today. Those who are our home country, and that is where they gave us arms and allow us to infiltrate South Africa. Both of us in Namibia, we always are united because we know where we come from. As I said to you, international solidarity and support also played a crucial role, which we would like that we could continue doing that for all the other countries, for the Palestinians. With countries, organizations, and individuals around the world rallying the cause of freedom in South Africa. The journey towards freedom in South Africa was not easy, and the scars of apartheid continue to be felt today. I will tell you personally, if you see a scar in me, you must know it's because of torture in South Africa. If you see any scar in me, whether it's in the hands, it is because I've been tortured without any trial. We used to be kept in jail for years and years without going to a trial. It is some of us that who have been experiencing that. However, the resilience, courage, and unity that characterize the struggle for freedom serve as a powerful reminder of the indomitable spirit of the South African people and their enduring commitment to building a society based on equality, justice, and dignity for all. Since the early 40s, we are aware of Filipinos who arrived in the Kalk Bay as seafarers, as we know, in the Western Cape of South Africa. They were known locally as Manilas, and they formed the backbone of the fishing community in that area. The present Filipino fishermen allowed Kalk Bay to become the third largest fishing fleet on the Cape Coast. However, the relationship between South Africa and the Philippines was formally cemented on the 1st of November 1993. Last year, we celebrated 30th of the anniversary between Philippines' relationship diplomatically in South Africa. The friendship between South Africa and the Philippines is a testament to the power of shared values, mutual respect, and the common commitment to peace and prosperity. Over the 30 years, our two nations have worked together to strengthen our ties, deepen our understanding, and promote cooperation in various fields, from trade, investment, to culture and education. There are roughly 1,000 Filipinos that reside in South Africa. Bilateral trade between South Africa and the Philippines have been growing steadily. The trade between our countries amounts to almost $154 million US. As we reflect on the achievement of the past decades, let us look to the future with optimism and determination. Let us continue to build on the foundation of friendship and trust that binds our two nations together and strive to create a more just, equitable, and sustainable world for all. Today, we celebrate not only the freedom of South Africa and the friendship between our two nations, but also the enduring values of democracy, equality, and solidarity that continue to guide us on our shared journey towards a better future. Salamat, salahat, nga, nang pasaya, nangayon, mabuhay.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that enriching and enlightening lecture on South Africa, brief history and the resilience of its people on the apartheid system, and the viewpoint on our country's bilateral partnerships and cooperations. Your lecture definitely gave us a deeper appreciation of our shared values throughout the 30 years of South Africa's freedom and friendship with the Philippines and for the coming years ahead. Thank you very much. Now, we will open the floor for comments and questions. Please be brief with your comments or questions so we can entertain a good number. Please do remember to introduce yourself and your organization or affiliation first before you comment or question. The floor.
Nations that are surrounding us, because they buy goods in South Africa, they distribute them, including, very few will know that, including Mauritius and Madagascar. They're part of the Southern African community. So indeed it is that. So there are a lot of areas. For instance, one of the things I always think Filipinos could be assisting us in terms of the seafarers indeed. We continue to think that there are a lot of opportunities we can do. South Africa has got two oceans, the Indian and the Atlantic. And really, I must confess that we have never utilized it properly to its own maximum. And Filipinos, because of your big ocean you occupy, the Indo-Pacific, can assist us a lot to navigate those issues. And what we call in South Africa now, the president has declared what he called ocean economy, that we can be able to learn so much from Filipinos, precisely to preserve the species that we have, but then to allow any other commercial companies to exploit them in the long term. There are issues and restrictions in terms of the environment in South Africa. The other aspect we always have, we share with Filipinos, is that we have never actually, like Filipinos, have to explore most of our deep sea for minerals. We are engaging that in South Africa, but we've got a lot of resistance from the NGOs that says we mustn't touch the environment. But It makes sense. If Namibia have just discovered in our border, just in the border of us, the biggest oil, it spill automatically in South Africa because we share the sea. We are being taken to court. We are resisting that. We're not sure whether we are winning because South Africa, as we said, is rule-based. Anything that the court says don't, we don't. In South Africa, when the rules have, there's been rules against you, you can never move forward. In actual fact, if they say the Minister of Environmental Affairs, we have told you, we've taken a decision that you are not going to fish there. If the Supreme Court endorsed that, she can go to jail for 6 months. That's how it is. So those are the issues that we deal with them. But we're also having that issues of the maritime, the issue that we're dealing with Philippines. We can next be having education and education exchanges. One of the other things is that of the top 300 universities you find in the world, 4 of them are in South Africa. University of Cape Town. All of you know that the first heart transplant happened in the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗂𝗁𝗏 University. That is in university, and it's normally government university in South Africa, but that's where. And you all know that South Africa, the first Siamese twins to have been operated and separated and live for 16 years, was done in South Africa, University of Pretoria. So you will understand that why we think we can be able to have exchange views in education. But in general, if you look at it, it's more people to people and other areas that we can build. One of the things as you do that, you are able to understand, to deal with prejudice, to remove ignorance, but also to be able to understand what Africa can offer for you. Africa has huge minerals. The DRC is among the top 7 in the country that has, and it's part of the Southern Africa. As you all know now, we're engaging, we have put our soldiers in DRC to assist them, because we think it's high time that the DRC people enjoy what is basically their own wealth. They can't be the 7th richest country in the world, and yet the situation is dire. We have put soldiers there because they're part of the Southern Africa now to assist them so that they stabilize. The challenges that we're dealing with in Africa are reawakening of Africa. You all know that we've got issues of Burkina Faso, we've got issues with Niger, we've got issues with Mali. Those are the young kids who have taken over power there. Of course, they've taken it in a way that we do not support, the issues of coup, but we've seen progress that these kids are determined to make. We are also determined as African countries to assist one another. We do not want to see our people perishing in the oceans, going there, Mediterranean, going to find better life. We think we have enough resources in Africa that we can be able to self-sufficient. The other point that you raised that I've never spoken about since I'm just going on, we've got what we call African Continental Free Trade Agreement, ACFTA. It has started to work in some countries. It is starting to do that. We are also trying to build the 1.6 billion people of Africa to trade among themselves first, to see how we can be able to leverage. In that, we are also moving to say, as we trade amongst ourselves, we trade in our own currencies to avoid the issue of using currencies that are politicized. We have done that. We have seen Malawi, its first bananas, have reached the African market. And they were able to be paid in different currencies on Africa. We are looking at the comparative advantage of each country, how they can be able to do that. The Secretariat has done a lot of work around that aspect. We know that there are Europeans who want to be part of the ACFTA. So it's up to the Filipinos to take the opportunities, because even the minerals will be sold in that trade. We're trying to create systems and procedures. Of course, the rules of origins works as number 1. They are being passed by many countries. Other countries, we've almost moved at about 62% that have been ratified through their legislative. We're left with others which we think we can be able to achieve this year. One of the other strengths that we have, looking at the colleagues, we have BRICS, as you all know. We're looking forward to there is mechanism, and very few people think there is something quiet. Something is being done technically. The technical teams are working 24 hours to make sure that we have systems in place that when we meet this year, are we meeting in Brazil? Yes, as we meet this year in Brazil, we'll be having major announcement to deal with that. We're trying to build an alternative economies so that we can be able to find our voices as nations. You know, we also trying to create our own wealth as nations, in particular as Africa, so that we have our own wealth, we can look after our people. We are endowed with many. South Africa is one of the top 10 gold producers. We produce platinum, we're number 1 in the world. We can be able very soon to be producing gas and oil. We are in the process of doing that. The diamonds and the gold in the Sahara Desert, both Namibia, South Africa, Congo, and Botswana are doing that. So we know that we can be able to achieve those other issues. We have a long way to go, but we are determined to go forward and push forward. Precisely because as you look at the world, things have completely changed. Whether we like it or don't, the world will never go back to where it was before. What we do, we need to navigate issues. It's not an easy process. Navigate. How do we as countries survive under these challenging circumstances, both economically, politically, and human nature? Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments that you'd like to raise? Yes, Ambassador. Okay.
Good morning, Excellency. Good morning, everybody. My name is Saleh Mohammed. I'm Ambassador of Palestine in the Philippines. Excellency, comrade, sister, Ambassador Martina, I can go on for at least 1 hour more describing your relationship between Palestine and South Africa. The day that South Africa was freed, we felt that part of us is freed that day. I remember it very well. We shared aspirations, dreams of freedom, and I take this podium to congratulate South Africa for the freedom, for the achievement, and that their struggle was not in vain. And I would like to thank you also again here for mentioning about the freedom of Palestine. You always do, and also your wishes has gone too far also. It reached the ICJ. So to expose Israel, the occupying power, committing a genocide in Palestine, in the war in Gaza, as everybody has witnessed. I take this podium to wish you and the Republic of the Philippines, in this occasion, 30 years of relationship, a very successful and fruitful relationship. And I call on all governments to stand with the oppressed people, especially we all shared a kind of occupation history, oppression history. And I would like also to thank the DFA for organizing such very useful and productive seminars like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. You are not alone. You know, I always tell, one of the history that people don't understand of South Africa, we are not a fake diverse. We are indeed a diverse nation. We've stayed with people whom we called enemies. We still sit with them. They still have privileges. But I will tell you a story, just a little story of South Africa with its own complexities. Very few people think we're fighting the Israelis because it's not a Jew. I'm a Christian. South Africa has got 80% Christians. We also have resistance against this decision, but this decision was based on history we shared with the Palestinian people. I studied in Russia. I was studying with the Palestinians, the Namibians, the Angolans. They've all gone back and they're free. The Palestinians are not free today. We are all free. So our history is based on that. There are so many similarities of what's happening in Palestine that happened in South Africa. We are also fighting the might of the South African government. It was mighty. It had all the arms that you can find, the support that it has. It has not been an easy struggle as well for us. Many people perished. Many people were executed. It has not been an easy struggle. We understand. We understand when we are put in a homeland system It's a demarcated area. That because you are a Zulu, you must stay here. You can't move out of here. When you move, you must have a pass that shows you, allow you to move from one area to another. We understand the pain. We would not want it even at our own enemies. We sit with the Afrikaners today. They enjoy the benefits of freedom. We have never taken it a payback from them. We understand. And very few people understand our stand. Our stand is not because we are bold. Our stand is formed because we've got a conscience. A conscience that says we can never be seen on the TV day and night the murder, the slaughter of the children and women. That all human beings are equal. And all human beings breathe the air. And very few people who have nothing against the Jews. When myself, I joined the struggle. People who used to give me food, shelter me, hide me, were the Jews in South Africa, South African Jews. I can never be against them. And in exile, I remember I had two friends. We had two Jews. Joe Slovo, very few people knows. He was a Jew. He became a Secretary General of the Communist Party and a member of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress in Jew. He's Jew. Goldberg, that served 27 years with Mandela, was a Jew. Our first Chief Justice, 𝗕𝗿𝗿𝗄𝗏, was a Jew. Our first Minister of Intelligence was a Jew in the democratic South Africa, because we understood we have nothing against the Jews or Christianity. And what is happening with the Zionists in Israel has nothing to do with that. So there must never be in conflict. When we take up this course, you must notice everyone is anti-Semitic except South Africans, because they know that we sit with the Jews in South Africa. Even in Africa, we have the largest Jews today in South Africa, because it is their home. We can never discriminate against them. We have nothing against them. We are fighting the system of oppression, and that should be distinguished. So very few people construed what the Zionist government is doing against the Jews people and what we call the Christianity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Are there any other questions? Yes?
Good morning, Your Excellency. I am Moses Pagdonsalan from the Carlos P. Romulo School of Diplomacy. Are there any talks between the Philippines and South Africa for collaboration on the tourism front? Thank you.
You spoke about tourism. Yes. Let me tell you the beauty of it, that Philippine travel. I think I'm always saying that we owe on that one, we owe the Philippines, because South Africans hardly travel to the Philippines. I think we all have some sort of ignorance, both of us, of one another. But the Philippines travel. Yesterday, my consular people told me they process 40 visas a day. They've been doing that for the last 4 months. I know at this time the Filipinos travel a lot to South Africa, precisely because they're running away from the heat. But for us, it's a benefit to South Africa. But we would love the South Africans to also come see Filipinos. When I brought some of my friends and my children to Filipinos, they fell in love with Boracay, Shakagao, Cebu. They fell in love with the Filipinos. I think South Africans would always love to come to Philippines, in particular when it's colder in South Africa. We're going to, we share the same temperature, climate, whatever you call it, with Australia, Chile. It gets cold in June, July. When the northern hemisphere, it's all warmer. In the southern hemisphere, it's colder. So I think they would like to come here. We're working on modalities, how we can assist with them, so that it is a balanced way out, but it also will help Filipinos to understand Africa, to understand South Africa in particular. I will also just pause and say, Africa has got 54 nations, countries. Each one has got its own rules. South Africa is just among 154 countries. But the advantage we always have in the Southern Africa is because we collaborate our tourism. People go to Botswana to watch the Botswana, and they look at the desert and other things. Others, they come back and they go to South Africa. Others go to Namibia. Others go to Lesotho when it's colder, to play in the ski mountains and Free State. So we've always collaborated. one of the things that we also bring in South Africa is that we're the only country that has got the desert, land, that has got oceans, that has got what we call it, fynbos, things that we do it, that has got rivers and land. In one country we can have that. We have winter, we've got summer, and our winters you can even come and play the snow. So we always do that for us, but we also have very warm summer, especially in those areas in the Indian Ocean, the site, the Durban and other places like that. We would like to have more South Africans coming to Philippines. We also are working on, we see we are recovering from Philippines in terms of pre-COVID numbers. Before we used to have around 8,000, 9,000. We are now sitting around 7,000 that we have registered last year. And we think we can be able to do that and double that. But know that we're working with the Ambassador Para from the Philippines in South Africa to find a way of how we can also market Philippines as a market for South Africans. Because as you all know, South Africans now, I'm told even my children are posting to me, we've booked, we are going, I don't know, Beyonce, I don't know, is going to Italy, what, they're going to Italy. Going following Beyonce. Italy, South Africa, Italy, last year they were somewhere, there was a festival somewhere. And I know, when they go there, they say, well, we find we're about 60 South Africans. It's one country. So I always say to them, we must organize some of these tours with the Philippines so that they can come to Philippines and enjoy, because I know them. They really liked when they were here. They fell in love with Philippines. So there is a potential that we can work on the tourism as well. It's one area that we are working hard on it. I've spoken to the secretary last time we were together with her, and I told her that we need to have a meeting so we can see what we can do. South Africa, the advantage always have, these young kids are the middle income country. We are the middle income country, and they can be able to travel. Unlike those who came before them during apartheid, who are part to start at the government pension fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Your Excellency, dear colleagues, I'm the Ambassador of Switzerland to the Philippines. As you know, dear colleague, I was before in your wonderful country, and the specific issue is I was a young trainee in '94 in South Africa, and I was there when you had your first election for black and white in April '94. I understood perfectly what you said about the atmosphere at that time in your country. 30 years later, I come back as ambassador, so I can compare your country quite well, and it was always a pleasure to be there. My question now is, in these difficult times we have now, with the crisis in the Near East and the war in Ukraine, we speak a lot about Global South, and South Africa is a proud member of Global South. What is your perception about this wording? I mean, what is the content? What do you think in the near future? What is your role in this regard? Thank you.
I am so happy you're raising the question. I've raised the same question with many people who don't understand. I think the Global South seems the people think that it has vanished with the COVID. But it's countries that are in the Southern Hemisphere that are collaborating on many other issues, economical and other things. Global South is of strategic importance. It is strategic importance because I haven't seen Filipinos speaking about it until I think about 2 months back. But Europe speak about it. You know, I'm saying, people, when we say Global South, I think they don't even understand what we mean. It doesn't mean it's South Africa. It's all the countries, including Latin America, Africa, and other countries. It's called the Global South. And we have mechanism that you can be able to assist and leverage on the issues of Global South. We have other issues, the Global South, what we do in the issues of cooperation as well, as you are saying, that excellence. And it is a very important tool that we are persuading as well. I think it's also being revived properly so that we cover all the lost grounds so that we can be able to deal with it. Of course, we are telling the truth. South Africa is it's one of the leading countries in the Global South. We are quite a privileged for now country. We have, albeit all the challenges we have, because of the statute that we have. And we have always brought it to the Philippines to tap in this, some of these institutions that we have been catered and find their strength. The problem, as we are saying, that with the issues of how the world is looking at the world, it's one-way stream. And it needs to be rescued. Because if we continue like this, even those who think they are benefiting, in the long term, they will not benefit. Pain is something that you can never take away. It is enduring, it sits with you. And that is what we're trying to avoid, because there's so much hatred and so much playing around with people's lives. For us, we think the issues of Global South should come back and take their rightful space and stage and center. Because COVID did a lot of disservice to some of these institutions that were catered. But the emergence of other challenges, as you are saying it, the challenges of Middle East has been make sure that, for instance, many people will never understand. They always think that maybe we are also stirring up trouble. We had many people saying us, you are stirring up trouble. Stay in your lane. Leave other things to deal with their own South Africans. What is your problem? We can't. Because we all get affected by this. We get affected by high inflation rate, by high cost of living. It affects everyone. For the mere fact that in the Middle East there's Red Sea issues that you can't pass through the Red Sea because people are fighting, there's a war. We had to open and provide security to use the Cape of Good Hope route to make sure that the food from the Atlantic nations and other places can pass through the Cape of Good Hope to the Asian countries, the Asian market. So it just shows you that how measured South Africa is, and strategic it is. Because the route that we speak about, the Cape of Good Hope, has been a long outstanding route of trade between a long time ago. It is still moving, it has always been going, but not at the level of the Red Sea and other places later, because it was a thing that has happened. But it has always the safest route. They've opened it now so that they can be able to feed the people in the Asia. And the market of the Atlantic nations can be able to move their goods from Atlantic to Asia, but using the Cape of Good Hope, which is around Cape Town in South Africa, to transport these goods that we have. It is a long route, yes indeed, but it is the safest route. And if people do not understand how strategic the Global South is, they would not understand. That route, it's not only used by South Africa, it's used by Latin America as well. They are, because they are in the Atlantic, to transport their goods easily and via Cape Good Hope, as friendship we have to the Asian countries and other countries and Arab countries. So it's important that the Global South is also recognized, as you're saying, that it's resuscitated, because that is where we're trying to work before COVID, and we're almost done. We are resuscitating it. So the Global South remain important, because most of even members of the Global South are members of the UN and other things. The Middle East issue, as we're saying, it's a challenge. But I will tell you something. We hear the history of South Africa 300 years ago. No one stopped fighting for their freedom. Whether you're called terrorist, I was called a terrorist. Whether you're called whatever, it is your inherent right. It is your land, it's your forefathers' land. Why must you be moved from it? And whether it's this generation or the next generation or the next, it will always endure. So that is what we are trying to avoid. We can never have an overlasting solution, not without coming to a final solution with the issues of Palestinians. The Palestinians have got a right to their land. They have a right to everything they have. And that is what is creating the Middle East tension in the Middle East. It's creating tension in the Middle East. The hatred must come to an end. As long the world understands that the Palestinians have got a right, they are not even a big nation. Both Palestinian and Israel are not a big nation. It's not even a playing of the people always say, you South Africans are not speaking about Ukraine and Russia. We do. Everybody has got a right to their country and their land. We did that when it was not fashionable, before the war broke out, in 2014 and 2012, when we knew that Ukraine will come this way in Russia, when we told them, stop what you are doing to the Crimea and the Russians in the south, because they are also inherently Ukrainian. You know what and that's the same situation we're facing in DRC. We've told the DRC president, stop the war in the south between Rwanda and DRC, because whether you have Rwandans who are in the DRC, they are inherently DRCs. It is their country, it is their homeland, it is their land. You cannot say because there is another country next to you, therefore go there and we're taking your land. You can't do that in any way in the world. This is what we are telling people. We are very clear about that. Everyone who knows South Africa, Ambassador, you all know. South Africa has got 9 official languages. We are surrounded by nations that share culture, surname, and everybody. In Free State, it's a South African province. Lesotho is a country on its own. But my mother comes from Free State. He's a Mosotho, we share with Mosotho. There's no way we can wake up and say, take Free State away, go to Lesotho. That's where Lesotho are. It can't happen, because we're inherently born there. The borders were made by colonizers. Why are we now told by us? We have a country that is called Eswatini. The Swaziland, in the Mpumalanga province of South Africa, has got 3 nations. It's got Mandebele, has got Maswati, has got the Tsonga. And the Tsongas belong to, some of them to Mozambique, tribal-wise. And some of them belong to Eswatini. We can't say, go back, we don't want you here, go to Swaziland. It's their inherent right. They were born, their forefathers, it's their country. Whether there's borders made, we cannot do that. I can tell you a long story. It's a long, Botswana, Northwest. We share the same culture. Actually, people in Northwest, they're even West, and Swaziland, as I'm saying to you, they walk. Of course, they go and buy in South Africa, and they come back into their own country, Botswana. We can't say, go to Botswana, that's where you belong. They are South Africans. They're inherently, it's not been movement. It's a border that has been created. So some of these tensions are man-made, deliberately. So we must be careful of what we do. And we need to embrace one another. We know for today, we stand South Africa today. I have my political counselor here who's called Miss Naidu. I know many of you will know Naidu is another nation. I'm not going to mention because I don't want to sound prejudiced. But she doesn't even know where his grandfather or her grandfather's coming from, whoever. We know the history. They came in the 1800 centuries to work in the sugar plantation with the British in KwaZulu-Natal. And that's where most of our Indians coming from. So they are South Africans. If you ask her how many times have you continued and say, in my whole entire life, I went to go and see people who look like me. She said it all the time, but that was all I could go and do. And after that, I came back home, you know, and once as a visitor. So it shows you the diverse country we speak about. We have a lot of people who go to New Zealand and Australia. You'll see a lot of Afrikaners there. When I was home December for the first time after COVID, I saw a queue of them. I said, I thought we were now Australians. They say, no, forget it. We're South Africans. We just go there and visit. We're working there. But everybody knows that they are there, majority of them. So it just shows you that if we are resilient, we have better policies, we are fair to the world. We should allow the world to be fair. Yesterday there was a vote at the United Nations. 2 only countries. One says it abstain, one vetoed. We could be talking about a free Palestinian today. We should be talking about a free Palestinian, especially to be fully recognized with all status in the United Nations. One vetoed. It's power. And I think it's nice when you still can eat. But we know we are reaching almost 500 years. Some things may change naturally to those power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. As much as we would like to entertain more questions. Oh, okay. Another one? Your Excellency? Okay, another one.
Thank you. I'm going to be short. Well, my name is 𝗕𝗿𝗶𝗁𝗲. I'm the Brazilian ambassador here. And I have many remarks because, thank you very much, Ambassador. I mean, your presentation has been very rich, and I'd like to raise so many questions, but I know the time is short. I have just one, and it concerns the Global South that you have just mentioned. And you also mentioned that Africa has 54 countries. So then I came to my mind the African Union. And on the other side, I thought about ASEAN. So does South Africa consider the leading position of South Africa within the African continent, that maybe you could propose some kind of a major interchange or maybe a cooperation between ASEAN and the African Union? That's the first question. And concerning the remarks, just want to mention that as a Brazilian, I feel very familiar to South Africa. We are also a melting pot. Brazil is a mix of races, not only Aboriginals, because when you speak about the Yanomamis in Venezuela, and there are no borders, so this kind of respect that you have mentioned is also true in Brazil. So I feel also very familiar, because myself, we are all immigrants in Brazil, as maybe Canada, other countries. And I do believe that's very important, this kind of protection that you have mentioned, because we have felt also this kind of problem, and especially because the frontiers in Africa have been traced not by the Aboriginals, but for foreign powers, and that makes a major difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency, and it's true. I do know that ASEAN has written to the AU to be an observer for now. But I also know Philippines ambassador, I'm not sure whether he once asked if they can become an observer in the AU. I don't know whether we've taken the matter up since it was the moment it was just raised by the Assistant Secretary, who's now the ambassador in Rabat. At that time, we have told her that she must dispose the note verbal. We'll take it because each country invites some of their friends to become members of the AU, you know, at some point like that. AU is an important body. It was founded for our forefathers. It is precisely the AU, which was called OAU at that time, that made us to be free. And I always feel sorry for the Palestinians in the Middle East that they never had that support. We had our founding fathers, Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Yasef from Egypt. And they founded it in Addis Ababa. They found the African Union. And it was funded by all Africans and African, half African, whatever we call them, Arabs in Africa, because all Africans were like that. And Algeria was also there, founded it. Its father was there, was a founding member as well and Libya was there. They were all founding fathers of Africa, of AU. It is precisely the decision they took. It took longer, that Africa will never be occupied by foreign powers. It took longer, it kept on moving. We are the last one in the South to have got our freedom, in particular South Africa, because Namibia got it. But we, as I said to you, we also a benefit of the international solidarity. We are grateful today as we stand here, indeed, to the British community, not the government. They refused. They slept on the streets day and night against apartheid. That is why Nelson Mandela's first visit also overseas was to Wembley Stadium. He didn't hide. You know, Mandela was a prisoner. When you are a prisoner 27 years, you have no diplomacy. He told them, I'm here not about Margaret Thatcher. I'm just here to thank you, British people, as a people, for having stood and put pressure on your government, that I'm free today. You know, he went to Ireland, and he thanked the people of Ireland and says, I stand here today to thank you for all the support. This is a person who was locked down in Robben Island, who never knew what is happening, but he knew what was happening. And then he went to the US, because there were a lot of groups within the United States that supported us as well, and thanked them. But he also said them, irrespective of your views, Palestinians have got a right to self-determination and deciding who their country. We're grateful for the Palestinians. When Palestinians initially started, supported us also financially, you know, to support us. Libya support us financially. The destruction of Libya has been a very bad thing for the Africa. Very few people know that Libya actually provided support for the AU. For years. Actually, people were saying Muammar Gaddafi was crazy. He was never crazy. He loved us. He loved all Africa. We all worked there. Africans worked there. There was nothing of Mediterranean. There was nothing. There was no slavery. Libya was successful. So whenever people talk about democracy and peace, be careful. Sometimes it works the other way. They are praying destruction instead of poverty and peace. Maybe because I'm a politician, by nature, I'm very like that. One of the issues that we also fight in the issues of sanctions and other things is that you sanction countries just because they want what is theirs. We can tell you about Zimbabwe. We are very aggrieved about Zimbabwe. Highly aggrieved. Now we see they've relaxed accepted individual, the sanctions. Zimbabweans have nothing in that country except the land. It is their land, the only thing they have. And this was signed in the Lancaster to say we will give you a land after 20 years. And look how it has turned out. That they make Mugabe as if he's crazy. Of course, there's politics everywhere. He could use it as a political leverage. But that is the Zimbabweans' land. They should have given the land voluntarily like they promised to Zimbabweans. That's one nation I can tell you in the Southern Africa that work the land and toil the land, that eat from the land. They have nothing except their land. So when you take it away, what do you do? When you promised that yes, these agreements are there, we'll give you the land after 20 years, and 20 years come, nothing happens. You are now sanctioning the country that is fighting for that right. Those are the history that people do not know. These are the history people do not know. It is always about what is their people's basic rights. I think, for instance, I always say to Filipinos, no one will remove Philippines from here. Find a way of discussing the issue of Philippines, Western Filipino Sea. It is your land, you fish there, you've lived there for million years. You've got a right to find a solution on your own to the fishing and issues there without interference, because it goes into our head, the interference. Look, we can't control the big manga of Israel now. Even Americans, they don't know how to deal with it. They said Netanyahu tells them where to get off. Because you're building a monster. We can't afford that. You know what I'm trying to say? The world cannot afford that. We cannot afford with so much hatred, so much division. It doesn't matter what happens in the Middle East. I always speak to ambassadors from Middle East. Please try and support the Palestinian cause. Doesn't mean one is a Hindu. I don't even know whether you've got status in the Muslim and whatever. We do not know that in South Africa. We're very fortunate. We have our own Ramadan. We go and we eat, we enjoy ourselves, we put our headscarf, like we look like them when we've now put on a headscarf, because traditionally we also put a headscarf. And we just eat with them, and then we do go back to our home. For us, they're just human beings. We're not even sure whether, that's why we don't have Terrorism Act and other things like that. We are also a melting pot, as we are saying, we're same place. Because for us, that's not important. What is important is that how we came. For us, we've got a province, very few knows. I don't want to sound racist. It's occupied by white people. They won the election. There's nothing we can do. We can't take them out. It's their province, Western Cape. They're there. They've got a mayor who's white. They've got a cabinet which is white. They've got a governor who's white. They win the elections. What can we do? Remember, when they win the election, they're not voted alone. They're not majority there. The majority is all nations. So if they vote for them, including black people who vote for them, what do we do? Do we say to you, no, because you're white, you can't occupy here? That is examples and the strength you can learn from South African strength and resilience. We let them do that. We tell them politically when we fight over the elections, you're white, you think you're still colonized, you think it's your country. But the fact is that they are South Africans and they tell us straight, forget it. We are occupying it here. And they campaign not only again for support amongst the white, because they want to win alone. They campaign for support amongst the black. They campaign for amongst the Indian and the colored. And they've won. They win the elections. While we're looking there, we have nothing. We can't do that. That means we are now working against what we believe strongly. We are the only country that as well, that in the cabinet, that we've got tripartite alliance. In our government, we've got the trade unions. We always ram them in, okay, you want a human rights, occupy this position. We've got a communist in our country. Of course, we've got good policies. You may not be implementer, but the Communist Party policy of social cohesion and social development is the best we can ever find. If you read Marx, you read Engels, you'll see those are human beings' policies who do that. Come and put all those kind of things so that you conscientize us from time to time and serve in the cabinet. So we're not threatened by anything. For us, what is important is the development of the country and going forward. So even in AU and in AU, we have all this melting pot. We've got the Anglophone, we have people who have got to interpret us because they were colonized by French, they're still speaking French. There are those who were colonized by Portuguese, they've got to put Portuguese. We do not allow those colonization to divide us. We try to work on a common, just like ASEAN is doing. So we also think it's high time that we can work with the South and the AU and including the ASEAN. I know a lot of initiatives are afoot. ASEAN has officially put to be officially recognized, already being called from time to time when there's AU sitting. We also know that South Africa has just been accepted in the AMITA in the ASEAN. We've put it as a South Africa. Yes, there are challenges we have to do with the African Customs Union. We are dealing with it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. As much as we would like to entertain more comments or questions, I'm afraid we're out of time. At this point, I'd like to invite Her Excellency to give her closing statements for her lecture. Just a brief one.
My apology. You know me, I'm a politician. Tend ambassador. I have to be, sometimes I'm loud and I talk too much. My apology for that, but I must take this opportunity and thank the TFA for organizing this. That make us clear certain positions that are black, are gray areas, to clear them up, to understand one another, so that we can understand. I've been attending a lot of events with Philippines, and I think we have collaborated with Philippines on other field of the UN, where we exchange candidature. We are now in the final list of the candidature for ombudsman. Our advocate colleague, 𝗥𝗱𝗲𝗯𝗲 is in the final list of being the deputy of the UN ombudsman. We're grateful. We're grateful that we have been able to provide Philippines with support, and Philippines have been able to provide us with support. Yes, in some cases we find ourselves in the difficulty because we may find that we have two candidates, but we know that wherever we can, we always support candidature of the Philippines. For that, we are grateful to DFA. We think we can be able to do it better. We know that DFA, they just informed us that they are looking at Africa specifically as an entity now, paying more attention to it. We are grateful for that as well. I was speaking to the head of the academy that he thinks we can have more exchange with the Philippines in terms of academic, especially diplomatic academic. I think we can be able to do that and take it up and implement some of this MOU so that we do not have this MOU, just a matter of doing them, but we have them anchored on some of the projects we have. I'm really grateful for the support I normally get. I'm a bit of a harsh person when it comes to that, but I act like a soldier. You can't blame me. You know, I'm not only a freedom fighter. There are people who are freedom fighters. Me, I'm a guerrilla as well. So sometimes I become harsh. And I know Mr. Meliko always say, Ambassador, what is it now? But I've fallen in love with the Philippines. And I understand the Philippines more than ever. As I enter my second year, very few of you knows that I got an extended for another 4 years. I even phoned at home. I was a bit sick because I was already packing my suitcases thinking that they will take me to another mission. They said, no, the president has just signed. He says, stay put there in the Philippines. So what can we do? We can only enhance that and work a lot. Work on that. So I would like to see academic, everybody coming to South Africa and South Africa coming to Philippines, indeed, so that we can be able to cement and understand each other. As you were saying, 54 nations. We are in the south tip of South Africa. Northwest. For me, when I were to go to Ghana and Nigeria, I need 7 hours flight. Just show you that how far they are for me. 7 hours flight. So if I go even to Morocco, I even need a connection. Sometimes I go back to Dubai and connect and go back to Marrakesh or whatever. So it just shows you that how big Africa it is. We're talking about 1.6 population. And I think we're the third largest continent in the world. Second or third, somewhere there. So it shows you how big the continent is. For you to travel to south where we are, it's colder, cooler, to the heat. Or north. Egypt is a little bit, it's got winter sometimes. But when you come to the west, it's as hot as you find in the Philippines. So it shows you also the different climate and adjustment like that. But having said that, I'm grateful for this and close by saying, indeed, I'm a child from Africa. I hail from the mountains and the valleys of Africa. Thank you.
At this point, we at the Foreign Service Institute would like to express our sincerest thanks and appreciation to Your Excellency, Ambassador Bertina 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗵𝗂, for gracing us with your presence and imparting your invaluable insights on our country's relations. Thank you very much, everyone, for such an engaging discussion as well. We hope that through the conversations and exchanges, you learned something new today. At this juncture, may I call in front